The Joe Rogan Experience.
Well, there's the one thing that Bob talked about from some of the documents that he had been given when he was working at S4 was that they had actually taken a part in engineering human beings. And that is, to me, like if you wanted to say like what's the thing that's going to get people to roll their eyes the most, well, you would say, well, that the aliens came down here and they got a hold of the lower hominids and they accelerated the evolutionary process and they created human beings. A lot of people go, get the fuck out of here. That's crazy. But if you look at people, one of the weird things about people is how much we vary. We're so different. Like, not like any other animal, like other than dogs. And dogs are the way they are because we've fucked with them, because we manipulated them. We are the dogs of the rest of the world. You know, I mean, if you really think about it, we're so different than every other primate. There's not even anything close to us. And I know there were some other human species, you know, how do you say it, the Denovians, right? There's Neanderthals, Homo floresiensis, which was those little hobbit people.
Yeah.
There'd have been a bunch of other humanoids. But nothing that came close to what we are. And if you look at ancient primates and us, the leap between them and us is so quick. The doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years is just bonkers. Like, they don't know why. They don't know what happened. They have no idea. But if that really is what happened, if they said, listen, they're going to get there, but we can help. Like, let's just jump in, because these things, like, look, chimps are still chimps, right? They're still murdering each other. They're still tearing monkeys apart and eating them alive. They're still doing the same things they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years, whereas we're living in condominiums and watching cable. You know, it's like whatever has happened to humans has happened so the advancement is so unique. It's so different than any other animal. If we really have been visited since the beginning of time, since history, if all those biblical stories and all the stories from the Bhagavad Gita and all these ancient texts that do talk about vimanas and flying crafts and beings that come down from upon high, if all that really is aliens intervening with the biological evolution of human beings, how fucking weird are we?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you think about how weird we are, period, I mean, maybe that would kind of explain it, that we're some stupid science experiment.
Well, you know, people say, I want disclosure. I want to know. We're ready. We can handle it. Are you sure?
You can't handle the truth.
I mean, are you sure you can handle it? Because we don't know exactly what it is that can be disclosed. But what if it turns out that we're an agricultural product? You know, that we are being harvested for something, or we're being allowed to breed and kind of a science experiment. Let's see where this goes. And then when it's time to end the experiment, I mean, I'm not sure people can handle it. Look at how they've handled COVID.
Well, look, if you would think about if aliens coming down and interfering with weapon systems and interfering with nuclear launch codes and things along those lines, like if you think about the uptick in alien sightings and activity post Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that would kind of make sense. Like, all right, these fucking dickheads, they've gotten to a point where they can do some really crazy shit and they literally might ruin this whole thing.
They figured out how to light the match.
Like if you take this primate, this animal, and you embed it with the superior or at least more evolutionary advanced genetics, and you manipulate it to a point where you make it weaker but smarter, far more curious, and obsessed with innovation. You can just leave it there. Well, it's just a matter of time. Like, how much is that time? Is it 1,000 years? Is it 10,000 years? Over time, they're going to figure out some crazy shit because they're just going to keep working together like they do. And then, boom, bombs go off. And they're like, all right, we got a signal. These crazy fucks have figured out how to split the atom. We got to get down there and keep a closer eye on these people.
I'm open to that possibility of that being the case. I mean, it's
Not
weird.
the craziest idea.
No, there's crazier ones being put out today. Just
Look, the
social
Big
media.
Bang is the craziest idea, and we all
Right.
agree on that. That's the craziest thing. The whole universe came out of nothing.
Right.
Smaller than the head of a pin, instantaneously creates everything you see in the night sky. Okay.
The technology that shows up that may be reverse engineered or craft or bits and pieces. You know, I sometimes equate it with, we're aliens, let's throw a cell phone into a chimpanzee cage. Here, have at it. See how you do for a while. I don't know that we're ever going to figure this stuff out.
Well, more than that, it would be like, let's take a chimpanzee and let's manipulate its brain and leave him with a bunch of tools. You know, give it some things and see what it comes up with, and then come back and try again. I mean, maybe Neanderthal was like, well, you know, they're not going to get any further past this. Like this project, we need to scrap it. Start with something new. I don't think that's not. Look, we do weird shit to animals. I mean, we study them. I was just talking to a friend of mine about zoos, about how bummed out I was when I went to this wolf sanctuary, because everybody's like, oh, it's amazing. You get to see these wolves that they've rescued. I got there, I saw a bunch of castrated wolves that were living in prison. I didn't think it was cool at all. It freaked me out. I got really depressed. I think what you look at what we're willing to do to chimps. I mean, I remember going to I forget, maybe it was Denver. I forget where it was, the zoo. But there was a zoo where there was this monkey that was in a cage that was screaming. Just scream like he was going crazy. It was a small cage, and people were walking around. He's like, "Wah!" And I was like, he's probably going mad. This is not how a monkey's supposed to live. They're supposed to be in the jungle, in the wild, you know, harvesting food and living with other monkeys. They're not supposed to be alone in a cage where these other weird primates walk by and stare at it, and it just overwhelms all of its defense systems and survival systems. We're willing to do that to things that we know are at least slightly intelligent. Like, what would be willing to do weirder, more advanced experiments to primates to create us?
And how do you tell a population, if you do study UFOs as the government and you find out, okay, shit, they're a craft and they're coming in, they're probably studying us. Like, how do you fucking tell people that? Like, how are people going to react? And the way that it's so compartmentalized, that's been the best proof to me as well. If I've talked to somebody who's worked on a project and they're like, all I saw was a supercapacitor in 1974, and I know this was not something we made. He was told nothing else. He just saw a technology that was more efficient than anything he had ever seen. So the idea that people are funneling this information, whoever is funneling it, and protecting this information, as we see how OSAP and ATIP didn't get special access permission, that's a special type of program. They knew about crash retrieval programs, so they said, we want to compare notes and information with other UFO projects. They were denied access.
Yeah, the door was slammed in their face when they tried to ask that. Senator Reid, who was Senate Majority Leader, had asked for permission to create it as an SAP, Special Access Program, so they could get access to other goodies. And they said no.
Like other retrieval programs, material programs, stuff that Bob has talked about. So just the fact that it's so hidden, even within its own mechanism, that they won't allow this scientific team to work on this project, it tells me, as Robbie says, something's up. I mean, something's up.